Hey everyone, I hope everything is going well. I'll be proceeding on with question 5 and 6. We'll be handling what Wallström's solution is and how she'll be proceeding on with the actions to address the organization's problem. First of all, she sets three themes into the organizations to correct the issue. First is leadership, learning, and employee retention. But I kind of combine employee retention and learning because she wants to create like a learning culture. So first, I want to dive into leadership. How can she address the leadership? She can say, differentiate the meaning between being a leader and a manager. Do you remember the time when Dr. Gonzalez asked us a question, what makes a leader and what makes a manager? And a couple of us said a leader walks a journey with us and a leader will pass down skills and build on the skills together and carry the burden with you. So I really believe that that's what a leader does compared to a manager. Well, a manager is more like a boss. A leader is more of a team player, but who knows the guidance and who is willing to guide you. So the thing about this company CH2M is that they acquired so many different companies in the past, about 70 years. It's 13 acquisitions in total. It doesn't seem like a lot, but considering this really grew the company's revenue and the organizational structure, they have multiple very ambiguous and different cultures from the top management. What happened to the top management is that they recruited people from the excuse me, they recruited people outside from the corporate structure, meaning that a CEO can be part of another company, but they came in through the recruitment. So due to how they built their top management, we kind of need to agree upon the same idea of leadership, which reduces the ambiguity in the different culture. Second, we have to send senior engineers, leaders, and project managers on like a little retreat to learn a different environment. This is for more of a personal experience because I work for an engineering company and we do this with our senior leaders. So I mentioned in the past that engineers can have so many different talented skills. However, one thing they might not have is leadership. They can be excellent at coding or mechanical engineering or civil engineering. However, once they're recruited to a senior position, they might not really have the leadership skills to lead a team. So what my company does is we send them on like a little retreat to Ojai, to Arizona, to somewhere out of state that's away from the organizations to reduce as much distraction as possible. And they learn in a different environment. So some of the classes can be about project management, leading as an expert, and leading essentials. I really want to focus on project management because the matrix environment, the matrix structure is a big thing for project management. The project managers can go through a certification series called IPMA Level C, and that allows them to have the leadership skills and team skills to lead multi-million-dollar projects. And I think this is really important for this company at least. Leading as an expert in leadership essentials are your typical leadership skill trainings, and they'll kind of connect with each other. Leading as an expert is more towards the executives. Lastly, we want to alert the top corporate leaders that they'll change the organization from top down. You know, it's kind of like an opposite iceberg model, where the top is really important and they have to re-envision the program, the organizational structure for it to happen, and kind of cascade through a downward fashion. Let's go into learning. So learning, we want to emphasize the importance of learning every day, kind of create like a more of a learning culture. And the biggest issue that the employees had through Wallström's finding as a consultant is that the matrix environment created a lot of, like I said, ambiguity, cultural differences, and kind of confusion of who to report to and who to receive guidance from. But I want to take that perspective into a different level and say that we want to take advantage of the matrix environment. So Alec might have described what matrix environment is like, but let me just draw it out for you guys. So here is a functional manager, and here is a project manager, and then here you are, or here we are, as like a regular employee, right? Ooh, E. Okay. That's a very bad E. Anyways, so we're working on a project, we're collaborating on a project, and what happens is that your functional manager is your direct report to your functional manager, and while you're working on the same project, your project manager is also your direct report to your project manager as well. So you have this kind of a matrix environment where you're reporting to two managers for the same project, and that can definitely cause confusion. If I'm working on this, should I report to my functional manager or project manager? And what is the number one way to resolve this? I discovered personally that I think communicating between the two, and having them connect each other in like a group call and setting boundaries and setting, you know, which task or delegate which task is important to the other will resolve the matrix environment. Oh, that looks very weird. Anyways, so let's go back to the viewing mode. Present. Oh, that's not it. Okay. All right, something's wrong with my presenting. Okay. Anyways, let's move on from here. So we want to value and understand the differences of ideas and culture between departments, and that illustration I just showed you will be one way we can really reduce the matrix confusion and actually adapt and take advantage of it. Lastly is employee retention and learning. So I mentioned that we want to create a culture of learning and encourage learning platforms, right? So, if you're an engineer, you're really talented in your skills. However, can you develop other skills that might attribute to your projects or whatever you're working on? And one of the ways, this article was a little bit more outdated, but recently a lot of new programs have been coming in. Learning platforms have been coming in, such as LinkedIn Learning, Learning Management Systems, LMS, and virtual classrooms, which has been integrating into the LMS lately. So some of the common LMS that's being used nowadays is called Litmos. We have Bridge, Canvas. Canvas is actually an LMS as well, so most of us are familiar with it. And this will really help that retention rate for employees, because one of the biggest issues was they just didn't have a sense of direction of where to go in CH2M. They didn't know how to move forward, or they didn't know how to grow in the company. And I think this will really create that push for the employees to be excited about learning and coming into work. Question 6. What would I do as an employee at CH2M to manage my own career? First of all, realistically, I would leave. But, hypothetically, I separate it into as a leader and then as an engineer or an employee. So let's start with the leader. There isn't too much I would do as a leader. I mentioned that I want to rebrand or reinvention what CH2M will look like, and stick to the original vision of having a very employee-centered and a family-like organization. If you have taken the change management or a change class with Dr. Dykes, you guys probably have gone through the paper that Lego went almost bankrupt and was about to finish around 2005 because they had way too much innovations, right? But the key tip is that they were streaking away from their vision of Legos, and they just had too much things coming in that were not bricks. So once they stuck to a brick by brick platform, kind of like a theme, they eventually came back to the original growth in revenue, and they're no longer bankrupt, and they're actually innovating at the correct time, and they're now one of the most leading toy company in the world. Okay, and next thing I will do is I want to prioritize on the servant leadership style. So what is a servant leadership from our last lecture? So they go beyond themselves, and they're very interested instead of how to grow with you, and they have characteristics like active listening, empathizing, persuading. They're very accepting of stewardship, which is really important. I think this is something that we need to work on with our leaders at our company, and they actively follow up and develop followers' potential. So they're acting like a coach as well, but kind of like that concept of the Bible. Jesus came down to serve, not to be served. That's kind of like what the servant leadership will be about. And lastly, we want to incorporate an impact leadership theory. We want to equip our employees with necessary tools and visions. We want to empower them by providing opportunities for each person to exercise their natural and acquired abilities. And lastly, we want to encourage them by supporting them through the whole project, building trusting relationships. We want to nurture their skills and provide recognition and feedback whenever possible, or at least in a very timely manner. What would I do as an engineer or an employee? So first thing is, how can I further develop my other skills to contribute to the company? This is very important about kind of creating that learning culture. We want to develop LMS that utilize LinkedIn Learning if it existed at this time. I mean, it used to be called Lynda back then, but it's called LinkedIn Learning now. So we want to communicate with my functional manager and project manager to be more effective. Remember that illustration I showed you with the matrix structure? This is exactly what I'm talking about. Just because I'm not a leader doesn't mean I don't have to actively listen. I can do all the leadership quality. I mean, I can have all the leadership characteristics as an employee, and just be like a very good employee to others by actively listening, empathizing, just contributing my own thoughts in a respectful manner. Just don't be a jerk. And lastly, we want to recognize the negativity, the negative and positive group norms of the company. So about 2-3 weeks ago, we had a lecture about group norms, correct? The group norms are created by culture and the company policies. However, sometimes they can lead to a negative norm. Some things that shouldn't be common in the company. So what are some examples? Some people who are too transparent. I know transparency is very important, but some people are a little bit too transparent, and that can, adding on to this, that can kind of hurt the other employees' feelings. So we want to kind of recognize that, hey, what's a good boundary, what's a good limit to place on our group norms. And that concludes my section on question 5 and question 6. I'm so sorry that I could not be there in class to see all of your beautiful faces. However, just if you have any questions, you can ask Alec or Sol, or you could text me at this number. And I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. All right, thank you so much, guys. I hope you have a great day, and hope to see some of you guys in the next class. And if I don't see you, or some of you are graduating this semester,